Hi everyone, it's Vicky from createafashionbrand.com and fashionserviceshongkong.com. And this week I got an email from Mimi in France, Paris in France, and she asked, how do I know what price my manufacturing samples will be? Now I'm assuming, Mimi, that you're looking to try and calculate this before you go to a factory, so you've got some kind of an idea as to what to expect. So there's some good news and some bad news. When we cost garments, or when a factory costs garments, there are certain things that you can kind of add up together in a formula. Now those things are quite simple, fabric, trims, buttons, time of the staff, their wages, etc., etc. And you can add all those things in, that's fine. There are other things around that will adjust what those prices are. So that kind of makes your question a little more tricky. So if we start with the basics, so for example, if you've got, let's say you're doing something with wool, 100% wool fabric. Now there are some 100% wool fabrics that cost $5 a meter. There are other wool fabrics that cost $500 a meter. So that right there is going to adjust, what your garment is going to cost. And that's the same with trims. Do you have buttons? How many? Do you have zips? Are the zips going to be, a YKK brand? Are they going to be a specialist zip because they need to be waterproof? Are they going to be, a random zip from another manufacturer that's perfectly fine? All of those cost different things. And then you have to think about the bulk of how much, whether you're buying them retail or wholesale, and we'll go on to that in a second. But if we stick to the tangible stuff first, you then have to think about the design. Now, if let's say you're doing a t-shirt, I love t-shirts because they're very simple shape. You have a back, you have a front, you have two sleeves. And sometimes you might have a trim around the neck with some stitching, but generally, on the whole, that's pretty much it. For all the different shapes that you've got, that's pretty much how it works. Now that's a pretty simple pattern. You put a front, a back, two sleeves, maybe a neck trim, 5 pattern pieces for your entire garment. Great. A good pattern cutter will be able to do that in like 10 minutes. If you're doing something more complicated, if you're doing an evening dress or a coat, then those things are going to have way, way more pattern pieces. And some things, the more complicated you make them, the more pattern pieces you need. Now, a lot of people think about the outside, but you also have to think about the inside. So if you're lining a jacket, for example, you still need a separate pattern for the lining because it's cut at a different size to the outside fabric. So you're actually talking about 2 patterns, not just one, for the whole jacket, for the back, 2 fronts, 2 sleeves, whatever. If you're then putting in additional seaming, you might have anywhere up to some things. I've seen one dress that's had 400 pattern pieces. Now that's going to take a pattern cutter a long time to work out because they're literally getting the measurements in your sketch and they have to turn that into an actual real 3D product, right? So they are experts in what they do. It is not an easy job. It is a very hard job. So that is going to cost you more. So all the seams and everything else you put in is going to cost you more. If we go back to then, we talk about the volume of buttons and things like that. What I mean by that is not that you've got 5 buttons on a jacket. What I mean is, if you're ordering in, let's say, 1,000 jackets, right? When the factory goes to a button supplier, the suppliers will also have minimums, okay, like a factory does. So the more you order, the cheaper each button becomes. So when you total it all up together, if you're buying, say, 5 buttons per jacket, 1,000 jackets, 5,000 buttons, they can offer those 5,000 buttons at a cheaper rate per button. If you're going retail, and let's say if you're only making one sample and you're buying 5 buttons, well, each of those buttons might cost $1, whereas your 5,000 was probably like a 0.05 cents a button. So that's a huge difference. It also works the same way depending on how many garments you're ordering with your factory. So the more you order, the cheaper it becomes, because they don't have to change the machinery, change the thread, do a new pattern, explain it to all the managers, explain it to all the sewers, keep changing all the different stuff that they've got to do. And that's why it kind of becomes cheaper. So there are ways to calculate the price roughly, but until you approach your factory, you're never really going to know. You can get a ballpark, and even when they give you an idea, an estimate, it is a ballpark. If you start changing things, trims and colors and fabrics and stuff like that, it will affect the price that you're paying. So my advice would always be, you can try and work things out, but you need to really get that done by the factory or the person that's going to be making your samples. And that way it'll be far more accurate for you. So Mimi, I hope that helps. I know it's not a kind of, XYZ formula, but there really isn't one. But if you want to email me, like Mimi did, then you need to get on my email list, because I send out information additional to this every week. And to do that, you just need to wait a few more seconds and get the address of either my websites, or just click on the button and go to one of my websites and join up there. The details are also below in the description box. If you want to just comment and leave me a question there, please click on our main video, 5-Minute Fashion Brand. You can't miss it. It's a big blue screen with yellow writing on it. And please leave me a question there. I'm more than happy to answer you. And I will see you next week. I hope you guys have a great week.